In this chapter, we're going to discuss text file processing. By text file processing, I'm talking about being able to create a text file and write data to it, read data from a text file, and append data to an existing text file. We're also going to cover how to work with text files on a character-by-character basis, and you'll see the difference when we get to those lessons. So let's get started by learning how to create a text file with the C++ program. The first thing we need to do is include the proper library to get to the objects that allow us to do text file processing, and that library is fstream, which stands for file stream. Once we've included that library into our code, we're ready to begin creating a file and writing data to it. The first step in that process is to declare the right data type. For an output file, that data type is OFStream, which stands for Output File Stream. After we've given the data type, we need to provide a name for our file. We'll just call this OutFile for an output file. This is a class, so we have a constructor for OFStream objects, and that constructor has two parameters. The first parameter is a path to the file, or the path that we want to put the file in. All right, so I'm going to create a file and put it in a data subdirectory. I'm going to call this file grades.txt, and that's all in quotes in a string. Notice that for the paths between the subdirectories, I've used 2 backslashes instead of just 1. That's because if we use 1 backslash and we have a file that starts with an N, let me make it look right, then the compiler is going to interpret that backslash N as a new line. So when we want to have the backslash treated as a literal backslash, we have to put another backslash in front of it. Sometimes that's called escaping the backslash. So by putting 2 backslashes and then the name of the subdirectory, we ensure that the compiler doesn't try to treat it as a special character like \n or \t. So I do that for the data subdirectory, and then I do it right before my file name. The second argument is a constant that represents how we want to work with the file. In this case, we want to use it for output, so we write ios::out, so that the compiler knows that we're opening this file for output. And we close the statement off with a semicolon, of course. Now, once we've established the file, and for this particular lesson, I'm ignoring whether or not we can actually create the file. We can do some error checking to make sure that the file is available and can be opened, but I'll cover that in a different lesson. Once we've created the file, then we're ready to write data to it. And so we write data to it using the put_to operator and the file name, or sometimes called the file handle, OutFile. So let's say I want to write a grade 100 to the file. Then I just stream the 100 to OutFile. And I can continue doing this for several grades, or as many grades as I need, if I'm going to do it manually. I'll do a couple more so that we can see the results. That'll be enough. When you're finished with a file, in this case all we wanted to do is write a few pieces of data to the file to see how that worked. You should always close the file by calling the close function on the file name. So that closes the file, and now we should be able to inspect it. So I'm going to run the program. Nothing happens because everything is going on behind the scenes. Now I'm going to bring up a DOS window, and I'm going to display the results of our program by using the type command to display the contents of grades.txt. And there you see that I have the numbers 100, 90, 80, 70 all on one line, pretty much just bumped up together. What I probably meant to do, so I'm just going to do it over again, is put a new line between each grade and put a grade on the same line, or at least a space. We'll put a line between them for now. So let's add indels to each line. Now let's build and run the program again. Go back to our DOS prompt, display the file again, and now you see that we have one data item per line, which is a little bit easier to work with. What we would probably do in a program like this, though, is write some sort of interactive loop to add the data into our file. So let's do that real quick, and then we'll close out this lesson. We might say int grade to create a grade variable to use. Then we might have a for loop. We'll do it 5 times for int I equal 1, I less than 6, plus I. Cout, enter a grade, cin grade, and then out file grade indel, and then close the file. And then just so we'll know everything's okay, we'll write an all finished message at the end. Okay, so let's build and run this program. So we'll say 83, 77, 56, 98, and 67, all finished. So let's go back to our DOS window, examine the contents of the grade again, and there's our file. The key to successful text processing is making sure you have all the components in place. So making sure that you have access to the file, that you use the right file mode, in this case output, and that you be sure to close the file when you're finished. But after that, writing to a file is really no different than writing to the screen. We have the file object, out file, and we just use the put to operator with it just like we would to the console with cout. So that's all we need to know for right now about writing data to a file. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about reading data from a file.